Well, good morning, all. This is Patricia, and I am traveling for history. On today's show, I'm going to talk about a research component of what I do for my channel. I'm not going to talk about specifics because I'm still working on gathering more research, but I think you'll still find this piece interesting, if nothing else. So when I'm out and about filming, besides whatever I've gone down to film, I always find other things. I find state historic markers, which I love. I know not very high readership or viewership, but I like them, and I find them important. Something else I find, and I always film, are war memorials. And I always film them. They're I find them a very important part of not only history, but even our lives, depending upon which war or wars they're honoring. And in fact, there was a war memorial I found that honored those men who fought and died in two wars: the American Civil War and the Great War. There were two names on the front, and those are the men who died during World War I, known as the Great War. And the other three sides were filled with the names of those men who fought for the Union side during the Civil War. It was on that particular war memorial that I found the most intriguing, most astonishing thing ever. And it was because of that I have delved into a realm of history that's amazing. So what would be my first line to find something out? And that would be first and foremost the town clerk's office. Now, I already knew that the town clerk there was very helpful because I had been visiting a cemetery nearby and found a man from a different war. She pulled out all the stops and provided me information on that particular man. The one I was just talking about, this war memorial, records burned. She really didn't have anything. But she suggested I call another town clerk's office, and I should contact the Vermont State Archives and Records Administration. And I'll get to that place in just a moment. So the second town clerk's office I called. Now, I would be curious, and you can put this in the comments below, if anyone else out there thinks this way. And if not, well, oh well. I guess for me. But I was thinking so intently I was calling about this one man that I was just focused on that. So when I called this other town clerk's office, I started with, well, I'm calling to find out more information about a person. And I was thinking again, historical person. And the town clerk told me, well, state law says I cannot share any information about anyone, blah, 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 which makes sense. So yay for that state law. I said, well, if I told you that he fought during the Civil War, would that matter? Oh, you mean genealogy. I thought she was going to transfer me to a different department. No, she just put a different hat on. Alas, though, their records also burned. Very frustrating, to say the least. But I decided to go ahead and call the Vermont State Archives and Records Administration. That's quite the name, by the way. And spoke to a woman there who found the topic very interesting. So interesting, in fact, that she sent me an email with all sorts of links. And I'm going to walk you through these links. In fact, there's the State Archives picture. That's part of their website. But we can see they have an online guide that you can conduct research at their location, and they have a record request form as well. So it's amazing what you can get just from there. And a very helpful person to boot. Now, she had sent me a link to, and she suggested I start with the Vermont and the Civil War Soldiers page. And when she sent that link to me, the website was up and available. Unfortunately, nowadays, as you'll see in just a moment, it has a 404 unfound and not found, 404 not found. This website had been outstanding, comprehensive, interesting, amazing. The amount of work that went into this website, the Vermont and the Civil War website, about the old soldiers' home, I think that was in Bennington, and I mean, if you wanted it, they had it. In fact, if you watched my series on the Civil War veterans buried in Prospect Cemetery in East Middlebury, Vermont, I got that information from their website. And they had photographs of some of these men. Astonishing. And now you can't find it. In fact, I saw several months ago that website name, vermontcivilwar.org, is now available for purchase. As I understand it, I had read someplace that they lost their databases, and although they tried to recover them, they could not. The years of work. But as I said, it was available at the time that I should mention I filmed the memorial in 2022. I contacted in 2023 the Vermont State Archives and Records Administration, and now it's 2024. So I've been conducting research off and on for this long. And then she also suggested this Hathy Trust catalog, HATHI Trust. It has amazing list of, in fact, we can see here, revised roster of Vermont volunteers and list of Vermonters who served in the Army and Navy of the U.S. during the War of the Rebellion. That's the Civil War, 1861 to 1866. What's interesting about that is it's compiled by authority of the General Assembly under direction of Theodore S. Peck. Now, on another tangent side note here, Theodore Peck, if you're familiar with T.S. Peck Insurance in Burlington, he was the founder of that. He certainly served during the Civil War and received the Congressional Medal of Honor. You should, well, I will have a video on him. You should hear what he did to earn that Medal of Honor. It's staggering. Staggering. Reads like a novel. If someone presented that kind of if a screenwriter presented that type of script to a producer, I suspect he or she would be tossed out of the office and laughed at, but it's real. Astonishing. So the records of the Adjutant Inspector General, which is available on microfilm, has six levels of six wars. We can see it's the American Revolution, the War of 1812, the Vermont Militia, the Civil War, the Vermont National Guard, and the Spanish-American War. So the Civil War is certainly what I'm looking at. And it has this amazing list of the topics they offer. Specifically, the ones I'm showing specifically are the Civil War. They have these volunteer infantry and heavy artillery, the 2nd Vermont Brigade, sharpshooters. It was interesting for the Vermont in the Civil War website, the vermontcivilwar.org website. They had a list I thankfully printed out on abbreviations used, because I now know that HA is heavy artillery, LA is light artillery, I think WND, I think that was the abbreviation, is wounded, things like that. And then some others I never ever would have guessed, and I can't even tell you what they were because I have to look at the sheet. Yeah. So you would go down to any one of those pages and you could find that information. I don't have a copy of those pages to share with you, but it's astonishing. We see heavy artillery there, a lot of infantry, a lot of cavalry, but mostly infantry. Astonishing. By doing this research, I contacted a third town clerk, and as I recall, there wasn't much information, and very helpful though. And then the 4th town clerk's office as well. I know it's staggering, isn't it? 4 town clerk's offices, and all these links as well. The 4th town clerk's office didn't have any burial information, which in any of the cemeteries in Burlington. I think those are just the secular cemeteries they could cover. But as you know from my zillion Lakeview Cemetery videos, that Lakeview is the largest cemetery in Burlington, and so a lot of records. And I was invited to come down to the archives there as well. Well, come on down. We think everything is on microfiche, but it may not be. Okay, or computerized, it may not be. Totally understand how that could be the case. Now, I have most of the story at this point, which is incredibly exciting. Oh, you know, the name of this show, this TV show this month is A Research Story, because it really is. You know, I contacted the town clerk's office, and each of these town clerk's offices gave me another piece or gave me, contact information for something else. And then the woman from the Vermont State Archives and Records Administration sent me a bunch of links, and she told me, well, you know, there were a lot of people who would contact them for information, so she could only really do this much, which was a lot. And then she sent me, besides these links, she also did a courtesy search on newspapers.com, because that costs money, in case you don't know it. And she found a newspaper article, which she shared with me. Alas, not with you, because, again, not quite finished with this. She also suggested some other places I could talk to, like Vermont History, the Vermont Historical Society, and she suggested the Vermont National Guard Museum. She also said that many of their military records were lost due to a 1945 fire, arsenal fire, and then another fire in 1980. So they don't have pension records. But she did say that pension records, and I quote, often include more genealogical notes, unquote. And then she talked about she sent me a link for the National Archive. The amount of work she did for me is unbelievable. But she loved the topic, absolutely loved the topic. told me to come on down and use their research library. I mean, it's open to the public. And they're open 9 to 4, Monday through Friday, except for state holidays. And they're closed on weekends as well. But and if I had any other questions, shoot her an email. She'd be happy to help. And hospital records, wow, that's, I love that kind of stuff. I think most of us think, when we think about war, we think about the infantry and heavy artillery and those kinds of things. But to see that hospital records, very important indeed. And I am incredibly interested in Medal of Honor recipients. I have a variety on my channel at this time. And then we have topical correspondence and miscellaneous records. Miscellaneous records can be interesting. Also, on a side note, a few years ago, I was researching Brevet Major General William Wells, and I was able to read his military and private correspondence. They have it at Special Collections at the University of Vermont. These two library boxes full of these records. It was absolutely fascinating. So, donned the white gloves and read these letters. It was really incredible. So I recommend that, by the way. It's what I love about conducting research are those rabbit holes. They can lead to all sorts of wonderful things. It can veer off into some other topic, which of course I love and will note, and then with any luck, it's the topic I'm looking for. Fascinating material, fascinating. So, I discovered something recently by accident. I love those kinds of things almost better than anything else. So I need to reach out to just a regular person like such as I, and trying to tie up some loose ends before I can create this video. But the story is amazing, and I was sharing it with Kevin, my producer today, and he thought it was really interesting too. So if you go to my channel and try to find which war memorial I'm talking about, I took it down. I'll put it back up after this other one goes up. But it's on this. The archivist also. She's an archivist too. Her name is Marissa Dobrik, by the way. I think that's how you pronounce her first name. Incredibly helpful. But she also suggested Fold 3, which is another newspaper archive available online, like newspapers.com. There's fold3.com. I think Fold 3 is typically military, but I could be wrong about that, but I think that's the case. And she thought that they would have pension files listed there, because I really think that Fold 3 is a military, more of a military newspaper archive available. It costs money. It's I don't think that's part of Ancestry. I know newspapers.com is, but I don't think Fold 3 is. But you can let me know in the comments below when Ancestry goes on sale again in a couple of months. I'll buy another 6-month membership to that, because it's absolutely fascinating material. But this is one of the things I've been working on, aside from finding more interesting places to film for all of us. And but it's just, even though this seems, because when I saw it on the War Memorial, I thought, I'm going to find that story. I'm going to do what I can to find it, which I did. And now all the rest of it is the are the last details of the story. But it's such a shame, such a shame. Not my idea of a wartime, of an act of war. But keep your eyes peeled. And you'll want to watch. You'll likely want to watch the other Civil War men. There was a variety of 5th Regiment men buried at Prospect Cemetery in East Middlebury, who were captured and spent time, a short amount of time, 2 weeks maybe, as POWs, prisoners of war, before they were able to return to fight again. Alrighty. Well, thank you so much for coming with me today. It's been this has been a heck of a journey. It's not just looking for things to film, it's finding intriguing stories and running with them. So, as I say at the end of most of my videos, this is Patricia and I'm traveling for history. Until I see you again, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. Thanks for watching. Bye now.